Hello YouTube, Reseller Mom here. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be part of a couple videos that will come out mid-2023. It is the first week of June here right now. It's the 6th of June, Tuesday, and I have been working on my budget all afternoon from about noon till 3 o'clock, about 3 hours. And I wanted to kind of share what I'm doing with you guys, share why I'm doing it, because I get a lot of questions of, well, can't I use Seller Board for my budget? Or can't I use Inventory Lab for my budget? And I think the important part is just to always have a budget. There's many ways to do a budget. And I have been kind of focusing on this year. I don't want to say I'm getting irritated, but I'm tired of using spreadsheets when I have a lot of software and I pay a CPA to keep up on my QuickBooks. I wanted to be more versed in QuickBooks and use the software that I'm already paying for to do things like budgeting and forecasting. So that has been a personal goal of mine. Last year, moving into the warehouse and just expanding my business, I personally wanted to grow more in the financial department, understanding finances, etc. So last fall, I signed up for Accounting 201. Then I took Accounting 202, and now I'm wrapping up Accounting 203. And that has given me a really good base of financial understanding and more budget understanding and really understanding how larger companies run and break down spending and some of the financial speak that I was feeling ignorant about. If you don't know something, I mean, we all have strengths and weaknesses, right? And if you have a weakness that is bothering you, it's up to you to fix that, right? So got to take some initiative. Sometimes it's hard to figure out how to improve or what's the best way to improve, because I've read self-help books. I've read Profit First. I've read Profit First for Ecommerce, and I don't know. Sometimes you got to try different things out till you find what is going to work for you. So this afternoon, I did a first draft and I did a second draft of my QuickBook using QuickBook budgeting. But first, let's start in on the pros and cons for different things. Inventory Lab will allow you to do profit and loss sheets, and it's pretty thorough. I mean, it's pretty great. If you are just doing Amazon, it's probably got everything you need, especially for a beginner. You can go in and put in your shipping supplies. You can put in your software. It's got a lot of good things to it. So by all means, use what you're already paying for. I just signed up for Seller Board less than 2 months ago, maybe. I've got to be near my end of my trial period, but really love Seller Board, and it too has some options that will allow you to do numbers and whatnot. In the past, I have typically used either Excel sheets or Google Sheets to do expense reports, cash flow analysis, etc., because my CPA does all my official books. And to me, there's kind of two parts to your financial world. There's the books, which need to be 6 to an even, that if the IRS ever audits me, or, I do anything like a business loan or anything like that, the books need to be good. And then there's forecasting. Like at the end of the day, I need to know when I come and sit in the office, how much do I need to pack out? How much sales is going to equate to what cash flow, and that side of the business. And that's where I kind of wanted to beef up. So for the last, I'll say since last August, I have, like I said, signed up for classes and then been watching different videos. I'm really enjoying the Gordon Ramsay podcast, how he kind of attacks budgets and his financial advice there. And then I've also been watching walkthroughs for QuickBooks specifically on how to operate that software. And that's one of the things that I am going to be focused on and become a master by the end of this month. Whenever I have I have a bunch of goals for business, right? There's just so many things you could do for business. I have goals around creating bundles and expanding and this and that and the other, but you kind of have to prioritize them. And this has not been a super priority because my CPA handled it, right? I didn't really need it. I could just throw things into a spreadsheet and kind of do some calculations there. And now I kind of want to really dive into QuickBooks. And that's my goal for this month, is to dive in, become a master in QuickBooks, understand it inside, outside, understand what my CPA is doing, why she is doing it, and how that impacts me, and be able to go in and pull the reports I need to either present to my spouse, present to a loan, forecast my numbers, etc. So I'm giving you the kind of the long around because it is a topic that you're going to find a lot of information out there, but I want to kind of present how it affects us in the Amazon world. And what I found when I was watching a lot of the videos on how to do QuickBooks, it was for a lot of businesses that were e-commerce. It was for if you own a lawn mowing business and you have invoices and whatnot, and that's all fine. There are a lot of businesses like that. If you run a brick and mortar store, those videos were very helpful. But I run an e-commerce store. Now, my CPA, I have no plans on like replacing her or anything like that, because I still, at the end of the day, don't like going in and finalizing all the transactions and all the work that she does do. But I wanted to be able to go in and see, okay, what is she doing? Why is she doing it that way? And how can I improve those numbers? When I look at my numbers and I see, okay, most of my budget is here or there, is that appropriate? Do I need to increase that, decrease that as I'm doing more and more advertising? Is that going to equate to more sales, etc.? So a lot going on. I went ahead and I polled, but then I redacted the information. But I wanted to show you how she breaks down my QuickBooks. And this is all on her. Like, don't ask me how to set this up because I'm definitely not there. Maybe by the end of the month. But my goal is to master budgeting and forecasting, not how to enter in the transactions, because that's what I pay her to do. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. And the reason I'm sharing it with you guys is so that if you are running a business and you're kind of wanting to do this maybe on a spreadsheet or within Inventory Lab, what are the categories and what are the expenses or the incomes that I have that maybe apply to you? And a lot of them may not apply to you at all. We all have kind of, I'm going to kill my face here so that you can have as big of a screen as possible here. Your business is not going to be the same as my business, but I can go through and explain what these line items mean, what are some of the costs associated with them, so that if you're starting this business, you know what you want to track and kind of where to put it in your overall picture. And this is what I've been spending the last 3 hours going through and looking at. So first things first, QuickBooks allows you to do a budget, and it is pretty intuitive. Once I got the hang of it, I thought it was very well done. If you want to know how to do those, you got to go watch some videos. Just type in like on the YouTube how to do a budget with QuickBooks. It's pretty simple. You create a new budget, you call it whatever the heck you want. Then you can have it either here, we can show my face for a few more minutes. You either have it look at what's already done for this year, or maybe pull up last year's numbers. So for a lot of things, I pulled up last year's numbers and then kind of came up with a guesstimate on what that's going to look like. And a lot of them were easy. Like, my rent's not going to change, but my projected sales are going to be higher in Q4. And, do I expect to do better or worse than I did last year? But having last year's numbers was really great. If you don't have a set of data to go on, then, maybe see what other people's expectations were during their first year. How many items are you currently shipping in? Crunch some numbers and come up with a good guesstimate. And as you get more and more numbers, I find that my forecasting and budgeting and just my understanding of how the business works becomes more and more clear as I get more and more concrete data to work with. All right. So when you go into QuickBooks, it's nice. You can see what your past, how the past was allocated. So if I see that my prior subscriptions run me about $400 per month, and I know that I'm not really going to add any more subscriptions, I can just use that number going forward. I did have to go in and kind of make some guesstimates because I let go of my 2 packers back in March. But I am hiring my son and daughter over the summer. So, I made those arrangements. Now, once you get your budget hacked out, which took me quite a while to go through and make those decisions on each line item, then I have the option to, you save your budget, and then you can run that budget against what you actually spend. So when my CPA says the books are done for what was last month, May, I can then go run a report and see how I performed. Did I do better or worse? Now, Dave Ramsey, who I've been listening to, says that once you start doing this, it does take a few times to kind of get really good at it or get better at it on understanding. But going through those motions, every time you do, you will get better. And like I said, I've been doing budgeting, but I've been doing it on other Google Sheets, etc. So this is my first time kind of looking through QuickBooks doing this. All right, the next thing that I like is you can customize these reports and do it on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, or yearly basis. And my books and numbers and everything I dive into in January, and then I do it in June. So we're in June, time to do it again, time to look at it, see what's working, what's not working. What isn't really working is I do love my spreadsheets, but by next year, I kind of want to move a little bit further away from the spreadsheet part and go mostly into the QuickBooks parts, because it is a very powerful program that I am paying for. So I like that I can run those reports at the end of the month and see how I performed and predict where I'm going in the future. I also liked that I could print it out and it would calculate what percentage of the budget is. So if I have my income and I pull all of my Amazon sales and then my other incomes, what percent of my business is Amazon? What percent is eBay? What percent is whatever? So if you have multiple streams of income, you really need something like Xero, like QuickBooks, like a spreadsheet that can break out those different parts of your business. A few years ago, I was looking at that, and my time and effort put into Poshmark and Mercari just really wasn't worth it. I was like, man, I could spend the same amount in Amazon and make like new bundles, and it's more exciting for me. I love it more. It's more profitable, and I really, really dislike the whole Poshmark sharing the closet thing. So as you step back during these time frames, for me, again, it's January and June, you can look at your business as a whole and say, okay, well, I tried that out. Didn't really like it. That's okay. Cut it. Go. Cut it and move on. All right, back to this. It pulls out your actual, for this one, I pulled out the year, and then I dumped it down to the first 3 months so that you guys can hopefully see it on your screen. I might have to, I'll increase the size just a bit more for you all, because I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm watching other people's videos, the screen is so small. But when I'm on I have big screens in front of me for my workspace here, so I can look at it a little bit more zoomed out. But you get the idea. You're going to have your the budgeted number over or under your budget, and then the percentage of the budget. And all these numbers are messed up because I copied and pasted. I like that it gives kind of a very professional look up here. It had my name, my company name, and then the budget versus actuals. So it looks very professionally done, which it is. It is very professionally done. You should see my Google spreadsheets are like a hot mess. I've got notes and this and that, and they're working documents though. I go in there every month and I update different things that I track for forecasting. I track all of my inventory lab batches so I know how much I packed out, and then I can kind of see if I pack out more, do I get more sales, etc. And I track a lot of other KPIs like feedback and returns and reviews and things like that. All right. So QuickBooks, it breaks down my income, affiliate marketing income. That is my Amazon store. If you click down below, there's an Amazon store where I have Amazon supplies linked, and if my viewers click on that, then I get a little bit of a kickback sale. Amazon sales, pretty self-explanatory, but I do like how it breaks it down into the sales, the refunds, the reimbursements, and shipping. What? No, cancel. The reimbursements and the refunds I do like, because when I'm going through and I'm forecasting, if I got rid of packers and I know my sales are going to go down, I could easily calculate the percent or see the percent of refunds and reimbursements, and then calculate that for a different sales percentage. And the reverse is true too. So let's say your current sales are at about 10,000 a month and your refunds are at 2,000 a month. You can easily divide the 2,000 by the 10,000, get a percent, and then you project that the next month is going to be 20,000. You take that percent and multiply it by the next number. For those that want me to do that again, we'll do 2, 1, 2, 3, And then you would bring up your calculator, or just a second, all sorts of calculations here. 2,000 divided by 10,000. So 20%, that's really high. But for purposes of this, we'll just math away here. So we'll say 20% is done in refunds. And then my next projection is I'm going to say the next month I project 16,000 in sales. So I need to kind of calculate 3,200 in refunds. Same goes for reimbursements. I do like to kind of track these and look at them twice a year just to make sure that my refunds and my reimbursements are on track. We all know that these are subject to, sometimes shenanigans. Sometimes you'll see a bunch of upticks in videos on how to get refunds from your Amazon orders, and we'll see a whole bunch of Amazon refunds and returns go through. I do notice that there's an uptick in January when everybody's returning their Christmas stuff, and that's okay. It's nothing that's abnormal for me over the years. And I want to say my reimbursements run me around, I want to say 3% and 3%, but now don't quote me. It was not a high percent. I want to say 3.4 and 3.6, somewhere around there. Amazon shipping is merchant fulfilled shipping. So for the most part, most of my shipping is nothing throughout the years. And then you see a whole bunch in December. Then you got your total Amazon sales. Now this is the next area that's probably doesn't apply to you unless if you do these things. So I do Fiverr coaching, and that's something that I started up last year. Absolutely enjoying it. So it has now become a line item. I have my eBay store, which is basically Amazon returns. So I don't count this as a real big source of income, but it is a way to process those Amazon returns. And I do make a little bit of money off of it, but it is something that I'm thinking, is it worth the hassle? Is it worth the square footage in my building? Is it worth the time and effort? I don't know. eBay is a love-hate for me. Sometimes it's great to get rid of junk. Sometimes it is a pain in the butt. I have an eBay seller that hasn't paid for something for 3 days now, and I don't know. I do like to keep up on the eBay because my thoughts there is if I ever get deactivated from Amazon, I can swap over to eBay and just continue running an e-commerce store just on a different platform. I would automatically switch to eBay and Walmart. So kind of my backup plan. You always got to have a backup plan, right? Subscription income is the Gumroad subscriptions. So again, down below, if you see a link to our bundle group, to our BOLO group, that is all done through Gumroad. We hemmed and hawed, Tina and I, on who to run it through, but it runs through Gumroad and it's linked to my name. So my CPA does all the transactions here because it's running through something in my name. I kind of wanted her to split it out, but she's like, well, it goes through yours. So legally, she went legal speak. It needs to go there. And I went, okay, I pay you to know what's going on. YouTube income, not a whole lot there, guys. YouTube keeps me up on my speaking skills, and I do still love doing videos. So I need to actually spend some time and figure out how I can increase my YouTube income to something that really makes it worth my while. But it's been very bottom of my to-do list. All right, cost of goods sold. This is going to be a big one, huge one. So cost of goods sold is broken down. She breaks it down into the FBA fees and then the seller and charges. And if you go and look up the Amazon fees, it's kind of, in my head, I break it down into, there's the shipping fee to ship your FBA item that Amazon calls, I think that one's called the FBA fee. And the other one is their pick and pack. It's what they pay their employees to go, and robots to get off the shelf and pack the item up. Both of those combined make up a good majority of what goes into your cost of goods. Mine was 37 to 39% of my sales. This again helps with forecasting, because if I know that Amazon's basically going to take 40% of my sales and I have a $10,000 in sales, I know that I can expect to get about $6,000 back in my payout. And then the next big one is going to be cost of goods sold for Amazon. If eBay was applicable, then eBay would be down here, but I don't buy anything for eBay. It's all Amazon rejects. But for cost of goods sold, that's another one area that is going to be dependent on what kind of business style you run. If you're doing private label, it's probably going to be on the higher side versus if you were finding amazing clearance deals and you're going over, when you're outsourcing, your ROI threshold is, say, you're not going to buy anything under 100% ROI, then your cost of goods sold is going to be a better percent than, say, somebody that has a minimum of a 20% ROI. Okay, but cost of goods sold for me is roughly like 30%, and FBA fees is another 37, 39%. So you can see that about 70% of the business is in these two factors. That's a huge chunk of your business, but with an Amazon FBA business, that's normal. It's typically a good chunk. Again, if you can get things much cheaper, go for it. If you want to run merchant fulfilled, you're going to have less FBA fees. All right. Next up, shipping and supplies and materials. A lot of times I get comments on my YouTube videos, hence this video, that do I incorporate the cost for the box or the cost of bubble wrap into my cost of goods going into Inventory Lab? And I do not, because it's captured here. I tend to buy from American Bubble Boy for my bubble wrap. I absolutely love it. I buy boxes from typically, Staples, and those line items go here. So I don't buy just a little bit of things. I buy a whole bunch at one time, and then I have the space in the warehouse to keep those boxes and bubble wraps here. So they do not go into my cost of goods in Inventory Lab, but they are accounted for here. So you got to account for them somewhere. Whether, I could do potatoes. It's not there's no, you can do it one way or the other. There's no right way, but for me, this is easier because when the line item comes in from Staples, my CPA knows that Staples and American Bubble Boy, I'm going to bloop, 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 bloop. American Bubble Boy and Staples are going to go into this, and then I can look at this as a big view. And this one I was looking at while I was doing my budgeting, and I noticed that I spend several $100s a month in supplies, and it might be more economical for me to switch to ordering a pallet at a time. I've got to investigate that. So that's what doing this budget's all about, though. You can see these and you can go, oh my gosh, I spent $600 in boxes and bubble wrap. Maybe it makes sense to go ahead and upscale and get them at a higher quantity and pay for that pallet delivery. I don't know. I got to investigate that. There was another one, the Boxery. The Boxery, Granger, and Uline are all the ones that I'm going to be looking at. So now I got to go to each of those websites, kind of break down what do I typically buy, what do I need, what do I keep on hand. And if I could get it to where I just make large purchases twice a year, maybe that's more economical. That's what I got. That'll be part of June's to-dos. One thing at a time. Speaking of which, it took me a good hour to go through and do a draft of my budget within QuickBooks. And as I was going there, I had a little note open on my computer on anything that I was unsure how it was classified or why it was classified or what was this charge. And then I had about 6 questions. So then I went back into QuickBooks. I found out what those charges were, why they were charged that way. Did it make sense? Got myself familiar, and then did a second draft once I knew what those things were. And I did a second draft. I anticipate through the month of June, I will probably do at least 3 or 4 drafts of my budget. And then I'm going to nitty gritty it down and month to month and really analyze it when I do my analyzation at the beginning of the month. Every month around the 1st, I do all my KPIs, pull all my sales numbers, etc. And this will go into that activity. And it takes me, I usually spend a half a day on inventory, just doing inventory for the office, and then a half a day of pulling all the numbers and clicking and adding all the things to all my graphs and my my numbers. All right, Amazon advertising. Holy smokes. This one I'm still playing with. Some have done really good, some have not. I have been playing around with more and more private label bundles. And so my Amazon advertising has gone up, but should it not be? I hover between, I'll say $800 a month and $1,500 a month in advertising costs. Is that totally too much? Is it not too much? I don't know where I am in terms of market standards. So that is another one I'm going to be going through and kind of analyzing, pull some videos. What are other people spending? What's normal for a private label budget? When I talk to others, some people who launch private items from, say, Alibaba are spending $30, $50 a day just on that one product. So I don't know. That's another one that's going to be highlighted and put it on my to-do list for this month. Promotions is kind of weird. I don't really run promotions, but I spent $2 on it in February. I don't know why. I think that might have been a one-time case that I did with somebody on a Fiverr gig. I can't remember what it was. Bank charges and fees. This one's a good one to just make sure you're not. I hate bank charges and fees. If I can avoid them, I will avoid them. So you want to stay on top of that. You don't want to have late charges or overdraft charges, or I don't think interest is in here. It might be. It might be. I know that I sometimes will have a negative, which is a fee. Sometimes with PayPal, when I pay the VAs are over in the Philippines. So you get a PayPal fee. I want to say that falls under here. And then if I have any interest that I make off of the checking account, that goes in here too. Business meals, when I went to ASD, that's where my meals go there. Make sure Tina gets some coffee, and, we try to eat out maybe once. And a lot of times with ASD, I'll go to the Smith's or the whatever the Safeway is, the Smith's Safeway, and buy food for my conference there. But that's where those meals go. And again, I'm not here to tell you what the laws are around that. That's why I have my CPA. I'll tell her. I'm like, we went out to dinner. It was a business meeting, blah, blah, blah. There are some new rules around entertainment and business meals, and I do not know them off the top of my head. Freelancers, contractors, this is where all my employees go. I only have contractors, and they get a 1099 form at the end of the year. She prepares that for me. It lists out how much I'm paying them. This is another area that is a large cost. It's typically your largest, next to cost of goods. Labor and cost of goods is going to be the top two expenses for most businesses out there. All right, but you want to make sure that you're paying your people. If you pay people, you want to make sure you pay them, but just forecast it out, because my people, they got to earn their keep around here, right? Insurance. I did that was it last week? It might have been the week before. Last week was sales tax. Week before, I contracted my Ashlyn Hayden gal, who's a lovely, and I can't remember her name. I want to say Brittany, but it might not be Brittany. Contacted her and told her that my projected sales for this year, my contract renews with them next month on the 5th, on July 5th. And they hacked me out some new quotes, and you can ask them for different quotes. If my projected sales, it was really different between 400,000, 500,000, and 600,000. And also, how much do I need insured at the warehouse? How much am I going to keep on hand at any time at the warehouse? And I wound up saving myself, I think, $10. My original, I was at when I wasn't in the warehouse, it was $68 a month. I went into the warehouse, it was $131, I think. And now it's going to be $101. So I saved $29 by doing that. A month times 12, it adds up. Interest paid, if you have any loans, if you have any credit cards, that's that line item. Legal and professional services. This is where if I have to pay my lawyer to fight me an IP case, or I think when my CPA filed my federal taxes, that went into here, and her monthly fee goes into here. So another one that you just want to make sure you're paying. You don't want to pay too much in here. You don't want all your hard earn money to go to professional services if you can help it. I love my lawyer, don't get me wrong, but I like to not have reasons to call her. Membership dues. For whatever reason, she classified my Walmart Plus into membership dues instead of software and subscriptions. And I really think it could probably be classified down here and then get rid of this line item just to kind of clean up the sheet. I don't know. It's fine. I pay $15 a month for my Walmart Plus. Absolutely love it. I love the scan and go at Walmart Plus. I love the delivery of my replens from Walmart Plus. Totally worth the $12.95, $15 a month. What I really ought to do is, again, look at this one and my software dues and subscriptions and see how much I would save if I switch to a yearly plan. I did that with a few things and it's been nice. I pay Inventory Lab yearly and you could save a little bit of money. So if I could save, we'll say $400, that would probably be worth it. I just need to be able to do the capital withdrawal and be able to front that cost. But another area I am looking at. Processing fees. Fees. I hate fees. eBay fees, pretty self-explanatory. eBay's cut. Partner fees. This is where PayPal, these are my PayPal fees. It's weird because there's PayPal fees and then there's partner fees. This goes into when we run the VA and it is the cost to send money out of the country. PayPal fees is a different cost. Again, I don't know why they're broken up into two different things, but that's all right. I'm not here to tell my CPA how she does things. She runs so many, e-commerce stores. I'm sure she knows what she's doing. Way more than me, right? Way more than me. Rent and lease, pretty self-explanatory. Software dues and subscriptions. This is my Be Cool Inventory Lab. Going to have Seller Board. I have Seller Bench that does I pay Seller Bench to find the missing money that Amazon when they lose all the stuff. Another one that I hate to have. It's kind of a necessary evil. Taxes and licensing. I messed up last year and I wound up paying my city. I paid double in the taxes that I needed to by $100. Still $100 though. I was upset about. Travel. When I book my ASD ticket, that is where that goes under. Utilities, another one that I can watch. When the Packers were working with me, I would get a little upset because they'd wear skimpy skimp clothes in the middle of January when it's 40 degrees out, and then they'd want to crank the heat up in here, and my heating bill got up there. I looked, let's see here, this last month it dropped down to $91 from $200, and when they were around, it was about a $400 a month bill. So if I can take that $400 heating bill down to $91, that makes me happy. Although we're getting now hot, so I'm sure the air conditioning bill is going to be more. But then I can wear, I don't want to say wear less clothes. I'm not going to be walking around the office naked or anything, but I'm not going to be wearing a hoodie in the middle of summer and then cranking the AC on. No. Anyhow, goes in there. Oh yeah. One day, one of them wore something that resembled a bikini top. And I'm going, it's cold outside. Aren't you cold? She's like, no, I'm not. Can we turn the heat up? If you're not cold, why are we turning the heat up? I don't know. Anyhow, we had many disagreements on that level. Well, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be like, oh, you guys freeze to death. But on the other hand, if you're going to wear a bikini top and it's 40 degrees out, we got issues. All right. Net operating income, other income. I can't remember what this one is. Every once in a while, I'll have a weird income that comes in that she throws under the income. Maybe a piecework that was from a customer or from somebody in the Facebook groups. I now, because I've been working with Fiverr people and oddball jobs for people, I now have quite a few ways of taking payment, and sometimes it gets under there. All right, now the nitty gritty. It will tell you exchange. I don't know what exchange gain or loss is. Total other expenses, net income, and other net income. And then this is the big one, net income. At the end of the day, when I take all my expenses and I take all of the income, am I in the positive or in the negative? And that's where I've got to go through and make sure that you don't want to be in the negative. You want to be in the positive. And what is out of that positive is then available to either be taken as an owner income, or what is it called? Owner distribution. Trying to get my words right now that I've been taking accounting classes. Owner distribution, or can go back into the company and you can reinvest that, however you want, if you needed to buy equipment or whatnot. I do like that it tells me when this was pulled, so I can go ahead and take a look. Or, if I pull up different forecastings, I can save them and I can know when were the numbers pulled. And that can be helpful. So that's what I'm doing. My fun times on the afternoon, pulling the budget. And the way kind of I function is I will pull it. I will go through, like I said, I did 2 drafts, and then I printed out what I could. Tomorrow I will take, because I can't see, y'all know I can't see very well. I will take my ruler and I will go through and I will look at each line item. I like to look at it on paper. Sometimes I like looking at it on the screen, but every once in a while, it's like, give me a highlighter and a pen, and I want to just, go through and circle things and make some notes, highlight things, and really digest it, because the next stage on the next draft, I will be getting closer. Hopefully on 3rd draft, I will be ready. It's optimistic for me. But the idea is then to be able to go to my husband and say, this is the projections for Q2 and Q3, my plans for Q4, and kind of just a heads up on what's going on in the business. And we used to do this monthly. We kind of got away from it. And then when we last sat down, last August for a really in-depth conversation. And again, in January, I can then present this to him, and he has a degree in business, and he'll be able to look over that, and I'll be able to be confident in answering all the questions. And it just looks really professional, and he can see what's going on with business, because he'll come at me and he'll be like, well, what's this line item mean? And if I go, I don't remember, it doesn't look good, right? It makes you feel not very confident. You may have a spouse that's what you do with. It may be a conversation with just yourself. I have literally printed these things out, gone to Starbucks and looked over with a highlighter, maybe get a different change of scenery. I have done it at my kids' practices, take it to the ice skating rink and looked over things. A lot of times Tina and I will go over it together. I love having Tina as a partner. I am now part of a mastermind group. So, that's, if you don't have a person to go over it with, that's okay if you don't want one. But I do like having other people to say, okay, this is what my expenses have been. This is what I'm going to change. This is what the forecast is. Do they make sense? What am I missing? Am I missing anything here? And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to pull straight from QuickBooks, because that is linked to every card, every account, every bank thing that I have. So I know I'm not going to miss anything. Whereas on my spreadsheets prior, I have been focusing just on the Amazon part, because that's the part that's 95% of my business, and really just diving into there. But I always felt like, oh boy, I hope I'm not missing something. And I don't think I was. It just didn't feel very put together, as hard as I tried to make it all encompassing and complete. I always felt like it would just lacked a little bit because it was a Google spreadsheet. Maybe that was in my mind. I don't know. You ever do something and you feel like it wasn't very perfect, but other people are like, oh, it's amazing. Yeah, that could be the perfectionist in us. And I say us because I know you all are very, I love surrounding my people with other, words. I love surrounding myself with other like-minded people, because we are very hardworking and strive to do really good and a lot of learning. I have never met somebody in the Amazon, e-commerce, eBay world that is not a self-driven, motivated, want to get more type of person. You weed out the lazy really quick in this world, let me tell you. Anybody who is finds it rough gets weeded out fairly quick. It's not And that's with any entrepreneur thing, I think. I don't hang out with many other entrepreneurs in general, but that's my take on it. So to recap, I am keeping a lot of my spreadsheets with the KPIs. Don't get me wrong, those are still awesome. I love seeing the growth and looking at that. But in addition, I will be pulling budget and forecasting straight from QuickBooks. The reason being is because, as you saw, I have several streams of income, lots of different expense types, and I can get a full picture of my business that way. But if you are just doing eBay or Amazon, Sheets will totally meet your needs. Also, Inventory Lab or Seller Board could potentially meet all your needs as well, as long as you're capturing all your incomes, all your expenses, and looking at your business as a whole. It took me several drafts, two so far, and I still will be doing a few more. It's not something that you're going to be literate with, and a lot of times I feel like I set this on myself, that I'm going to learn something. I'm going to be an expert in 5 minutes on this thing. And that's not reality. The reality is I need to watch a lot of YouTube videos, how-to videos, sit down with it, immerse myself in it, learn all the buttons, learn what they do, and get to a level of learning. And that level does not go like 0 to 100. It climbs like a mountain. And I feel like I'm at the base of the mountain right here. Hopefully by the end of the month, I'll be at a much higher elevation. And then the reason why I'm doing this is to be able to pull P&Ls and forecasting to present to my husband, to put on the wall, to have written out. Because as an outsider, he wants to know what's going on in the business, right? It affects him too. His name is on, I don't want to say his name is on everything, but we're married, so his name is on everything, right? He wants to know kind of what's going on, but he also doesn't want to grill me to death. He doesn't want to look at something and be like, why is this? Why is that? Why is that? That's not how we want our discussions to go. It needs to be clear cut. Like, here's the breakdown, and this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're going to do it, in the different directions my business goes in. Because even within Amazon, how I source, where I source, how I'm getting my stuff can be very different from business to business. A lot of people love retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. And if you want to go down that route, you're looking at doing VAs or buying an OA sheet and doing that. And there's a lot of pros and cons to that. If you want to go more private label, that's a different kind of style of business. And anyhow, each year I kind of decide which way am I going to lean towards. Been really loving the bundles the last few years, and I see myself in the future having 100% bundles. I'm at about 60% bundles right now for total of my inventory. I haven't done a count since January, but in January it was about 60% of my business is bundles. And I got to decide, do I want to continue going bundles, or do I want to incorporate more arbitrage, or maybe even a few more direct private label Alibaba type of products? Anyhow, gives me something to look at, lot to digest here. My husband called at lunch and he's like, do you want to go over all your numbers and your KPIs today, right now? And I'm like, okay, I just did them. I need to let them I need to get the budget done, which is what I was working on this afternoon. And I need to kind of let all those numbers sit and sink, because I'll have questions. Why did this go up? Why did this go down? And I kind of need to mull that over before I have an open discussion with somebody else and dive into them. I want to dive into them myself. Kind of like when I was at work, we used to do budgets all the time, but it was just my department. So it was fairly easy. I'd pull what my department spent and the labor, etc. And I want to do that all ahead of time, so that when you are meeting with your boss or fellow managers or whatever, you know exactly what you're talking about and the why. Why was this labor high on this week? Oh, because we had that audit and we needed a special cleaning. And remember, we cleaned the warehouse floor and that cost 20 extra hours of labor. Oh, yeah, that's right. And it looks much better than going, I don't remember what's going on. And so I hope you guys know what I mean. Anyhow, I got to get going. It is now quitting time for me. I loved pulling this together for you guys. I was really wanted to share with you some more inside of the QuickBooks and what it means and why I do it and how it looks for an e-commerce store. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was kind of a longer video. If this helped you out at all, please, please, please give a thumbs up. That helps out my YouTube channel, allows me to spend the time doing this type of thing for you guys and going over all the different line items that I have in my business. You may not have them all, and that's okay, but give you an idea of how it's broken down and classified. So if you want to mimic, you can pause at the different sections and do your own spreadsheets. All right, guys, take care and have an amazing day.